Hello, welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. With me, Chris. We are doing Rocket Summer. This is the book for the second week. First week was anything before the 1940s. Second week is a book from the 1940s. I went through my to be read shelf and picked out the first book I found that was in the 1940s. And I do not have that many of them. Just going through at random, a lot of my books are from the 60s and 70s. So, I guess this whole idea of trying to get back in touch with the older sci-fi, the first wave, or however you call it, I guess it's doing some good because I did notice a lot of difference. So this book was published in 1947. It's The Weapon Makers by A.E. Van Vogt. A.E. Van Vogt. Van Vogt. And as we discuss this, I'll be drinking a gin and soda. So, what is the story of The Weapon Makers? The plot follows a character, Robert Hedrock, no N. The story follows Robert Hedrock, an immortal man, as he works his way through controlling the society of the future, basically. He ends up knowing the Empress of the solar system, and also the weapon makers, the guild of high technology, not anti-government, but separate from government group, which makes sure that everyone has the ability to get a gun, but all the guns that they have only work in self-defense. He is part of both. He is friends with the Empress. He's in her group, and also of this weapon makers. At one point, they are both chasing him because so faster than light travel has just been invented, and Robert here is trying to get it out to the masses, but does it in a way the weapon makers do not like, and does it in a way the Empress doesn't like, because the Empress realizes that if this happens, it will eventually lead to the collapse of the Empire, because no empire can exist over light years. A bunch of shenanigans happens. He escapes in this ship. At one point, he's then captured by aliens that are like spiders and don't have human emotions. Very logical, strange beings. He manages to escape, comes back, solves the whole thing, yada yada. Plot not super important. What I'd like to talk about is this is Rocket Summer, trying to get back in touch with the older sci-fi, and this, even though it's about faster than travel light, there is teleportation. There are all sorts of funky rings that he has that can shoot lasers, and he has a special suit that protects him. It does not read like a science fiction novel. It reads like fantasy novels. If you ever play Dungeons and Dragons, you know he can get rings that have special abilities. Kind of what it feels like he has. He has a ring that can shoot out, that's a gun that can shoot out ways of killing someone, so there's no sign of how they died. It looks like they had a heart attack or something. The rings that are similar, but they just tase people. He has a suit, which then has a field that makes a force field that then protects energy rays. It kind of feels like, it's some sort of magical thing. There are these people that are called no-men, who, once they get enough information about something, they can predict the future. Apparently, ridiculous amount of accuracy from very scant amount of knowledge. There's also the idea of Empress in guilds, empire. Very not modern. It almost is, and maybe this is just because of the immortal aspect. It almost feels like a Greek myth. The immortal man, Robert Hedrock, seems to know everything, can put things where he wants them to be, and even when things happen negatively towards him, any mistake that he makes, all of it seems to work out his way. It's like if you had a Greek myth, but you made it modern, and Greek myths are always tragic. If you had one that wasn't, which obviously doesn't really work, it's weird. It's adventure, it's sci-fi, it's immortal, it's a long past. I don't know how to describe it. I guess this is what first wave science fiction is. Read other stuff like it, but never under the concept of let's try to figure out what old science fiction is and how it's different. Something else I noticed is it's kind of like I was saying earlier, there are no mistakes that happen here for Robert. Everything that happens that could be construed as a mistake, and normally you'd say, oh, this did not go the way he wanted, always ends up working in his favor. He escapes in the faster than light ship, but he goes at such a speed that the acceleration would kill a normal man. He's immortal, so he eventually heals up, stops the ship in flight, tries to fly back and gets lost. That doesn't seem good. He escapes because he's running from the Empress and from the Guild. So then what happens is he's captured. He's captured by these aliens, these spider aliens. That doesn't seem to be good. Except they're trying to understand humanity. They don't understand emotions. They don't understand motivations. They don't understand why different people act in different ways. So they test him. Once they get enough information, they manage to teleport him back to Earth. Once he's teleported back to Earth, he's not lost anymore because now he's back on Earth. He's able to do everything he wants. Once he's done all that, he's then captured back by them. Because then you're still like, oh no, he's in a rough spot. This isn't... Except they're trying to understand how all this human stuff works. And there's another group, the group that originally discovered and invented faster than light travel. They went and traveled to another planet, and then their ship was stolen by one of the crew, who then brings it back, and he's going to go and make himself a fortune off it. That's his plan. And they're all stranded, and they all die. The aliens bring them back to life, and bring Robert there. But they're just doing this to try to have a little experiment, a little couple of humans together they can play around with, to try to understand what goes on. But because they had sent him back before, he managed to get it where this technology was explained to everyone. So when he's sent on this world, where he doesn't know where it is, he doesn't have a spaceship, he's with a bunch of people who were stranded and had died and now brought back to life, only so the aliens can then figure out what happened to them. Because faster than light travel was just invented, and they were stranded not too far away from Earth, within a few months, travelers leaving the Earth with their new technology, the new faster than light travel, come and they're like, oh look, I guess there are humans here. And they come and they save them, bring them back to Earth. Everything that happens works out for this guy. It's almost like Superman, except it's way more interesting than Superman. That people often say about Superman is, since when he was originally created, he had no weakness. He could do everything, which made him boring. And so they had to invent kryptonite in order to give him a weakness, because if bullets bounce off you, and you're stronger than everyone else, and you're faster than everyone else, and you can fly, what's going on here? You have no weaknesses. It's boring. This is almost there. It is interesting, but I think that's because all of his weaknesses and his failures come off as bravado. And so there is something in there that is weak, that is different, and you see him fail, kind of. I found that interesting. Like you want your hero to be perfect, to not have flaws. Something else I noticed about this book is it's a very small world. The whole solar system is populated. There are billions and billions of people, more than we have. I believe they said it was like 17 billion, because that's what they thought the solar system could hold. Although I'm sure it could hold more than that. I'm sure the Earth could hold 17 billion if we needed to. I don't know if that might be a number just pulling out of my you-know-what. But the whole solar system, the whole Earth, not only the whole Earth, but the rest of the solar system is all controlled by one empire, one empress. This family and this empire has controlled it for 3,000 years. And the only other bit of power in this whole solar system is this weapons guild. That's it. Nothing else. That's a small world. I noticed this a lot in later science fiction. Cold War era, where you see a lot of Cold War imagery in sci-fi. Oftentimes there are two empires. Sometimes there's two empires, one being stronger than the other. Sometimes they're equal. Sometimes they're called different things. But one's obviously America. One's obviously the Soviet Union. And it feels like there's nothing else. Maybe just because during that time in America, most of the sci-fi I read is maybe that's how the world looked, or you would assume was going to turn out. Because any country that was not Soviet would then become a democracy, right? There's no middle ground. How many wars did we have trying to fight off communism and the communists trying to fight off capitalism, where there's these two worlds collapsing, fighting each other? That's very modern, early modern. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, now we have different bits of power. We have America that's on the same side as Europe, generally, but not always. And you have Canada that's somewhat like America and somewhat like Europe. You have Australia, which is weird because it has a little bit of Chinese influence, but also Europe, but also America, but also England. And then you have India now becoming a growing power, and you have China, and you have Russia still, and it's like there are little power places everywhere. And then you have corporations popping up all over where they have operating all over the world. You don't get that here. It's a very small world. Maybe that just made it easier to understand. But that was definitely, I feel like that was a thing that wasn't really a feeling that was not really a thing before the Cold War. Maybe this is just the beginning of Cold War 47. It's after the war. It's the beginning of that era. It's not a Cold War, but there's two power centers. Anyway, The Weapon Makers by A.E. Van Vogt. By A.V. Van Vogt. Good book. 100. This is a bit longer than what I have been reading recently. 186 pages. Still a quick read. Definitely a lot of tropes in there, which I don't know. A lot of stuff that shows up in later science fiction, I don't know if it's original to this guy or whether there's older science fiction that explains some of it. But lasers, teleportation, faster than light travel. A lot of the interesting technology stuff. Good read. Pick it up if you get the chance. Alrighty, that's it.